Hello and welcome to the AB podcast for this Sunday, October 13th, 2019. Alex is taking the night off tonight, so we have a special guest with us and figured we'd do something a little bit different for Halloween and go with a little bit of Halloween theme and talk about a little bit of the paranormal and maybe some mythical beasts or non-mythical beasts, urban legends. So I called in a good friend of mine, Darell. We've been friends for quite a while. So welcome in, Darell.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
You are more than welcome. Thanks for coming. So we've known each other for 15, 17 years now.
Yeah, that's correct.
Darell I don't know how I conned him into hiring me at one point, but as a transportation coordinator, a little bit green, but with lots of attitude. So we worked together for about 5 years, 4 years?
Yeah, 5 or 4 years. I think
4 or 5
right
years.
in there.
So yeah, and then we became. He decided to found a paranormal investigative team, and that's how we kind of fell into this. Now, did you have when you were younger, when you were a kid, or when did you become really interested in the paranormal?
Well, pretty much I've always had, questions about it. I've always liked ghosts. It's always been something that's intrigued me. And I had a few experiences when I was a kid, and it really made me dive into it further as a teenager.
Yeah, because I know growing up that I had kind of that moment where I can't remember exactly where it was, but I had, I had a lot of night terrors when I was younger. I was definitely afraid of the dark. Every little noise, and still, I mean, even at the age I am now, I don't sleep well because noises really startle me and can startle me awake. And having night terrors and bad nightmares, and I can't remember where I was when I thought I had seen a ghost, and something just really clicked in me, and I became really fascinated with it. The afterlife and dealing with the paranormal.
Well, I know mine definitely as a kid was also dreams. I know I had bad dreams, or sometimes you have that thing where you're not sure if you're awake or not. So I'm not sure if it was real or I was in that state in between being awake and asleep. But shadows and things like that. So those were all things I saw as a kid that made me dive into the paranormal more as a teenager, as I had other experiences happen.
So did you grow up here in Salem?
I did. I grew up here in Salem, partly, until a teenager. Then I moved out to the coast. So right here in Salem, I lived for a while off of Commercial, then Alpharetta Springs Road.
And then where did you live? You lived at the coast for a while?
Yeah, up at Hammond, Warrenton, right there on the coast by Astoria. And I had some experiences out there because there is a Fort Stevens State Park, which is an old Army battery. Had a lot of experiences inside there. Used to sneak in there at night and mess around with the night watchman. Was supposed to be in there, but you do stupid stuff as kids.
And Fort Stevens is a big. I mean, that place is big. We were just up there probably about a month ago. Yeah, right about a month ago. And I was, I'm always surprised because I haven't been there a lot. I usually go to the southern Oregon coast, not the northern Oregon coast.
Right.
So, and Astoria is one of those old,
Yeah,
it's a very old town, and I don't think there's any of the coastal towns anywhere in the whole world that don't have, some sort of spirit.
No, I agree. I think a lot of the older settlements are out there on the coasts, and especially here in Oregon, I know that just because of the resources, it was a great place to.
Yeah, and of course you have all the the fishermen that are lost at sea, and
exactly.
It's one of those dangerous.
A lot of tragedies, storms, everything like that. So, yep, and it was a good area, but like I said, Astoria. We had the Liberty Theater there. It's much like Elsinore here. It also had a lot of paranormal stuff that happened in there. It was a creepy place. Heard things, saw things there as well.
Yeah, and I think we saw that theater when we were up there too. There was something I might have. I don't know. I don't know that area all that well. So, but so then you spent time in Warrenton, that area, Astoria, and here, and then we started working together, and it had to be right around. When was that? About 2002? It's got to be about 2002,
No, I think it
2003.
was later than that because so I left there in 2008, so I think it was around 2004.
2003, 2004.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's when we actually, yeah.
So then, what you came to me one day and you said, "I'm thinking about starting a paranormal team."
Right. Well, basically, how it happened is that I followed ghost hunters and I knew Jason and Grant before they were even on their show. Kind of contacted them
Now,
online.
Ghost Hunters was they were on Sci-Fi before. They had what, 12 seasons on Sci-Fi,
something like that. Right.
Now they're back now, right?
They are back. Ghost Hunters is back, but it's only with Grant and a new team. And then Jason and Steve and Tango have started their own group called Ghost Nation, and it's on the Travel Channel, whereas Ghost Hunters is back on the.
I mean, was there a split between them? Something happened?
It's hard. I have a hard time believing there isn't, because they were such good friends and they did everything. They even went in and bought a haunted hotel that they fixed up and ran for a while.
That's right. That was right around the time that Grant decided to leave.
So what he has said is just basically that he left because when you watch again in the show, he explains this, that he leaves because he realized that he was spending so much time away from his kids. He was missing his kids growing up.
Yeah.
They have now grown up, and that's why he's came back in.
Okay.
But then there's the part of me that also, it's weird that he just kind of walked away from Ghost Hunters and then also sold and got out of that hotel with Jason as well. And then whenever they're around, you just don't see them together. But they deny it wholeheartedly that there's been a rift. But regardless, they're both doing good things, and I both like what they're doing.
I mean, we were both religious watchers of that. And the thing that when you came to me and we talked about it, you wanted to use what is their formula for investigating.
Well, yeah, because I thought they had the best formula I'd ever heard of before. You see so many of these places that go out and they're looking for ghosts. They're trying to find ghosts. So everything they're doing, they're searching for something. And, well, of course, that's what you're searching for. You're going to try to skew things.
Yeah, you're going to make you're going to make the evidence fit the theory that you're trying to portray.
Now, what they did is they went in and they basically wanted to disprove everything, and whatever they weren't able to disprove or could not figure out is pretty much your evidence.
Yeah.
And that's what you rely on, and it makes sense because a lot of places they're going into are people's houses, and you don't want to go into somebody's house and they're already afraid to be in their house, and then you tell them you have 15 ghosts or something, and they're gonna, that's not what you want to do.
People are gonna freak out.
Yeah.
What you want to do is you want to say, okay, you know what? You have a EMF field in this room that's 115.3.
Right.
Now, I had never heard of anything. I had never understood EMF fields until I had watched that and high energy. And then I remember when we were working together, I was on GMP audit committee. I was asked to be on which is general manufacturing practices.
Correct.
For anybody there, and I never realized that I was sensitive to high EMF fields until we went into the electrical room at the plant. And I got an instant headache. I got queasy.
Yeah.
And it's an electrical room. It's full of EMF
Correct.
fields. So, there are natural causes for some of these things that can happen.
Well, and high EMF is just one thing that they say the paranormal is using that to draw the energy because it takes great energy to, manifest or even, voice or phenomenon or any of that stuff. So that's why a lot of times they're using that. And then also the creepy feeling and all that could just be your normal reaction to high EMF, like you were talking about.
I mean, I never, and maybe I had never been in a place that had that much.
Right.
And it was a big open room.
Correct.
But all of our electrical came in there and went to all of our machinery. And I told the QC manager who was running, I said, I can't go in this room. It literally makes me ill to walk into it. And then I started noticing when we would drive under high tension power lines.
Yeah.
I would get a kind of a weird.
Could you imagine living under there? What? I mean, I've heard of people and all the ailments they have from living under there. I can only imagine.
It's just crazy. So I had, and when you decided to start a team and you came and talked to me.
Yeah.
So
basically how that happened is I was just on the couch, after watching the show, and my brother was there, and I just you want to start a team? And we were like, let's do it. And so then we're like, okay, well, it shouldn't just be the two of us. We should get more people. And so I was like, I think I know somebody at work. So
Yeah,
you
and
were one of the ones I called.
I have a background in photography. I've been a
Right.
photographer for quite a long time. So, to me, it was kind of a natural thing. It's like I have the curiosity. I really, when we started, I, I didn't really have high expectations. I mean,
Right.
it's like this will be cool. I'll go do it just because it's cool to go do. But I didn't expect to catch anything.
I wasn't sure what was going to happen either because, I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to figure out exactly what we were supposed to do. I was green at it. I was learning as we were going too. But I knew that if we followed the model and didn't just say every noise, every something was, automatically,
Orbs, there's an orb.
it was probably dust and all that. I just knew if I followed that model that at least I'd be true to the places and the people we went and were in contact
And
with.
that's the really thing is the big thing was, we wanted to help people. If you're having an issue, and
Right.
a lot of people don't believe in the paranormal, they don't believe in the afterlife or what ghosts and goblins and all that stuff, and that's fine if you don't. And we met a couple people that didn't until we
Exactly. And I know that I have one of those personalities that is the one you don't want in any of the horror movies because I go toward the noise. I always investigate. I look behind the curtain.
That? Yeah,
I don't know. I'm too curious for my own good. But
it's like, here, Darell, you go.
Yeah, I know. So I knew that I'd be pretty good. I'm not real freaked out about it. I get things startle me, but I like to figure out what it is. I actually go forward and try to find out.
So it was Darren and you. Darren's your brother.
Yeah.
We all love Darren. Darren's a great guy. And then you brought me in, and then we had the other two founding members.
We had Andy.
Andy, he's the technical guy.
Yeah, he was the technical guy.
you wouldn't know it by seeing him.
No.
One of the best guys you'd ever want to meet. But very, very technical savvy. Always, knows how to run all the cameras, run all the equipment.
And then we had a guy, my brother-in-law, who's actually Lance, and he knows everything, electrical, motor.
Everything about everything?
He knows everything about, he knows a lot about electrical, motors, your normal house things, how things work. And he's more
skeptical.
Look at, skeptical. He's not like, paranormal maybe, but he's more skeptical.
So, sorry about the doorbell.
Who's visiting?
We got a package coming today. Maybe it's a ghost.
Maybe it's a ghost.
So, and us five got together, and we really hit it off I thought we really hit it off as a team.
I think we really pulled together as a team, and I thought that...
Actually, us six. I said us five. I don't know why.
Yeah, no, but the mix of everybody together worked out real well, and we brought in other people as it went. We had, but I think that the core group worked really well together. We each fed on our strong points, and the others could make up for whatever weaknesses we had. So I thought that as a whole, we were a really good, rounded group.
So we got all our equipment together.
Yeah.
And we decided to take we took our first case.
And to actually tell you how we got this first case, it's actually in Sisters, Oregon. And what happened is I was walking on the street, and I saw that you could stay at this hotel. It was called the Grand Hotel there in Sisters. And I was just there on a day drive. We just went to Sisters.
Grand Palace.
Grand Palace.
Grand Palace, yeah.
And my kids, so I'm looking into staying there because I wanted to go later in the year and stay in Sisters. So I thought, well, I'd stay here. My kids who know that I watch Ghost Hunters and I'm involved in it, and I'm starting this team, decided to ask the lady in front of us, is it haunted? Just because it looked like an old building. And she goes, well, yes, it is. And I go, what? She goes, well, we've got lots of groups coming in here before, but it's haunted. I go, really? And I go, well, I have my own paranormal group I just started. Would that be something you would let us do? And she's like, absolutely. I'm like, whoa. So my kids technically got our first case.
Nothing like stumbling into
I know.
Stumbling into your
That's how we got the first case.
So I had to say my first impression when we got there was the first thing that happened was Lance goes through with an EMF gauge and he's like, there's the parlor at the end.
Right.
At the end of the
The
long hall.
weird shaped. That's the weird shaped one.
It was just a weird building.
It
You
felt
could tell.
weird.
Yeah, and of course he debunked in 5 minutes.
Right.
Less than 5 minutes, that there was a huge EMF field there,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it was from a light fixture below in the garage.
Correct.
Once we turned that off, the whole room changed.
The feeling changed, right?
So,
right. That ballast, that was from the floor, and that was coming from the floor up. I mean, it was insanely high coming from that ballast.
I think I wanted to say it went from like, I don't know, for some reason I want to say it was like in the 110s and it went down to like 1.
Yeah, when you turned it off. It was definitely that light fixture.
So that was our first investigation, and that investigation had some.
Yeah, it was good. It was an old building, so footsteps were kind of not something we could pick up because you could be walking in a room all the way at the other end of the building, and you would hear it anywhere in the building. It was just such a creaky place. But we picked up quite a few different voice things that were voice phenomena. So the cat, and we're on the second floor, so I mean it's. Possible.
And Lance caught that in the parlor because that's where he stayed.
Yeah.
But that was more than 2. I mean, he was more like 20, 25 feet off the ground, and it sounded like the cat was in the room with him.
Right.
And there's no ledge, there's no anything.
No.
And so I was a little freaked out after that.
Me too, and we caught a few of the voices. We caught ones that said stuff that were kind of discerning, but that we didn't know until after we reviewed the footage. But I thought it was pretty good for our first go at it. We didn't have any video footage that was really.
We had some issues with the lights, though, didn't we?
Yeah, we did have issues with the lights.
The light kept going out or something. Yeah, and so it. So what is your actual feeling on? I know there's different types of hauntings. There's a poltergeist haunting. There's a residual haunting.
An intelligent
haunting. To me, the one that I think I've probably myself experienced more than anything is the residual haunting, where a place has basically recorded something and it just plays it over and over and over.
Correct, and that's the one that doesn't react to you no matter what. It just keeps happening over and over. It's energy stored either in a building, in an animate object of some sort, or just depending on what kind of energy is there that it feeds off of, that it'll just replay over and over and over.
And that's why, like, abandoned hospitals, abandoned jails, abandoned schools.
Schools even, and that's where you're, even like asylums and stuff, they've got big time residuals just because of the, you could say negative energy, but just that energy in general.
Yeah, and one of the places that I've always wanted to investigate is Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
Yeah.
Which is, and they're, Trans-Allegheny is one of those places that it's famous for its haunting. So is Eastern State Penitentiary.
Eastern State's a big one.
And then, what's the one in Kentucky with
Waverly?
Waverly Hills Sanitarium.
Yeah, Waverly, that's another one, yep.
And I think Waverly is probably, if you want to catch paranormal, if you want to experience it, I think there's probably no place better in America that you could do than Waverly. Because Waverly was a TB ward.
Yeah.
And they had, 40,000 people? I mean, they put in a body chute.
Yeah. And I feel that one is a lot. I don't feel that it's just residual there. I do feel that there's also intelligent haunting.
Yeah, because and there have been multiple. I think it's on the second floor. The boy on the second floor,
right,
with the ball.
Right. There's just interaction with people. There's too much going on for it to be just residual.
And they're actually doing a lot of restoration at Waverly and Trans-Allegheny, and I follow all three of them on Facebook. So. And they do a lot. I mean, they do a haunted house and everything at Waverly now.
Yeah, I know. I've seen that, which is cool. Bring people in. But there's a new phenomenon happening with that, and I don't know if you've been following it. I have. You may have heard it, but when you get investigating teams, and all these people that keep coming in, they're coming in and they're gearing up, and they want to see this. Catch their own paranormal stuff, and they're bringing in all these feelings and just always doing that they're creating more paranormal
They're
stuff.
drumming
They're
it
actually drumming it up. They themselves. So you've got places that may have a little bit of paranormal happening, and then by all these people coming in, like our groups or different groups coming in, it actually increases it. And so what you got to do is make sure that you're not getting these teams in here that are like bringing negative stuff in, trying to, antagonize these spirits, especially if they were people. Because why would you do that? I mean, if it's somebody that's not knowing what's going on, and then you got somebody in here that's trying to antagonize or do all that, it's actually creating worse paranormal stuff for these places. And that's why you're getting places that are now on a lot of the new shows, like the new Ghost Hunters or the Ghost Nation. They're finding out as they're coming through that they've got to be more respectful with the groups that are coming through because they're creating more of an update.
They're creating more of an issue because there's a lot of theory and like any other scientific field, and this field, while I understand that there's a lot of I don't want to say animosity, but dismissiveness of this field.
Yeah.
There is a large community of people that are dedicated to the scientific fact.
Correct. Yeah, I agree.
And you have to, there are theories out there.
Right.
Theories like things like updating places can increase your haunting.
Right. Any kind of, when you remodel. A lot of times that happens in, households. When you buy a house and there's nothing happening, all of a sudden you start remodeling it. If there was an entity there, it sees everything changing and it doesn't know how to react to that. And so that can cause, also paranormal activity.
Yeah.
But you're right. One of the problems with the field is there's you have to wade through all the non-information. The garbage. Misinformation out there because you also deal with a lot of TV programs, or even internet programs, and they're there for entertainment value. So they either create things or skew things for more entertainment.
They're afraid if they don't.
Facts.
They're afraid if they don't have something to show you that you're not going to come back.
Because if you had 5 shows and nothing happened, are people going to return to your program? That's one of the things they worry about.
Yeah, and it's understandable, and the paranormal field has always been, a lot like the Bigfoot field. Okay?
Yeah.
I am personally a person that I had an experience that I can't explain that I would attribute more to what you would say would be a classic Bigfoot encounter. Now, I know you're an avid outdoorsman. I don't know exactly where you stand on Bigfoot, but
I'm not 100% saying no because I have an open mind already, but I haven't ran into anything myself, but that doesn't mean anything. I mean, there's many things I haven't seen. So I'm not saying, I've never seen a wolverine in the wild. They're out there.
They're out
right?
there, yeah.
It's just, so I'm not saying no. I'm saying that that's another one, like you were saying with the paranormal, that's been beat to death, and there's just so much misinformation.
Yeah, and you need to weed through.
It's ridiculous. It's not as big as it's made, but there could be. I'm really thinking there might be something like that. It does make sense, and then you've got where you go over to the UFO, the UFO field, and McMinnville, Oregon's a real big place right here in Oregon for that, and I know I've had a UFO experience.
And so have I.
And that just means there's something I can't explain that was in the sky. And it doesn't mean that it was aliens.
It's an UFO. People forget that UFO stands for unidentified flying object.
Doesn't mean that I'm saying there's aliens flying around in our sky. I'm not saying that. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's just something there that I have no idea.
Weather balloons, experimental aircraft.
Right. Our own government. I have no idea. I just can't explain what it was.
All I gotta say is I want to know Will Smith if they do come.
Yeah. We need Will Smith now.
and Jeff
Goldblum with a cigar.
Yeah,
please,
with a cigar.
now.
Victory dance, right?
Exactly.
So getting back, what was our second investigation? Do you remember?
Let me think here.
Or we can hit some of the highlights of just some of our other investigations.
Oh, well, I know we did the Dusty Spur in Independence.
That was a weird building, too.
That was a weird building. It was in a historic building in Independence, and it's, of course, changed to other businesses, but we had full reign of it, and it was a creepy-feeling building. It had
But
It was old, but it wasn't really.
There was no evidence.
No, and if there was something there, I have a feeling it's residual, and it's just playing
over and over.
Right, because definitely didn't get anything that reacted to anything.
Yeah.
There. But it was a neat historic building to look into, so that one was interesting.
And then, what were some of the other ones?
We did a house out in Independence.
That one I wasn't there for.
Right, and
the house in Kaiser I was there for.
Yeah, no, the Kaiser, no, West Salem.
No, the Kaiser one and the West Salem.
Yeah, Kaiser and West Salem.
The Kaiser one was weird.
But that was the one the guy who had a lot of antiques in there.
Yeah, it was empty when we were
empty, but he had stored a lot of antiques in there. And I think some of what we were getting was stuff that he brought in on the antiques. And that's another thing people have to be careful of. Antiques can hold things just like houses can and inanimate objects. It depends, you just never know. And
now, in that one, the one that really got me in that one was Darren and I, because
was that the temperature difference?
The temperature drop.
Yeah, that was interesting and unexplainable.
Yeah, we had a 17 degree. I think it was 17 degrees in less than 9 minutes
for no reason, and it was significant.
And my video camera, which I was videotaping with, went dead. I mean, it went dead. It went.
We had a few different items that night, cameras that went dead, and recorders that just batteries drained. So, like I said, as I feel something was there, it was interesting.
But didn't he get? Wasn't his haunting? I thought that house haunting was more not a malevolent spirit, but didn't he have something where like an ember had fallen out of his fireplace and he was alerted basically?
It alerted. It set off his smoke detector down the hall that there was no smoke yet, but it was smoldering. Things went. So it wasn't something that was negative. It was something that was
his horizontal or his vertical blinds.
Was moving.
In his room were moving, and that kind of alerted him something was going on when there's no way that they could have.
He had a guy trying to break into his house. He was alerted through the sliding glass door of the bedroom, and then the embers from the fire. So it was something that seemed to be helpful.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to tell that to go away.
Yeah. Most people think ghosts are just malevolent. They're there to terrorize you, which most ghosts really aren't.
Right. It's more that people just fear the unknown. They don't know, so therefore they fear it, and
which is scary. I mean,
and you think of all the movies we see. They tell us to be afraid of these things.
Yeah, and I mean, and I guess we can talk about some of the movies. Like I've seen clips and parts of like Paranormal Activity, but that is sensationalized. That's not how hauntings happen. There have been some hauntings that have been
documented.
I know the Warrens have done.
Yes.
Ed and Lorraine Warren. Whether you think they're frauds or not.
Right.
There's a lot of.
Right. Agreed. Yeah, they have the haunted museum basically that they've got all of that stuff stored from Annabelle to whatever else.
Yeah, and then we did the West Salem house. Now the West Salem house was
phenomenal.
That was a little bit of a wake up call, I think, because this was a homeowner, as I remember, who number one was very religious.
Yes.
Number two really didn't believe in ghosts.
No.
Or hauntings, and was basically being terrorized.
And she couldn't go to anywhere because it wasn't really acceptable within the religion either.
Yeah.
So it was something that was very hard for her to come forward with. But it was at such a problem for her that...
And her son was the one that really...
Her son that helped us with it, yeah. But yeah, we caught some really amazing... And it turned out to be something that she didn't need to be fearing.
Yeah.
I mean, it was something that it ended up being a family member, and that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
And so, and we got direct responses, using a flashlight, doing a yes/no kind of thing.
Which
was amazing.
Yeah, I will never forget that evening because we were outside. We weren't in.
I wasn't in. I was out there.
We were outside talking.
And I kept telling them, quit turning the flashlight on and off.
And then Lance got
realize.
Lance got on the radio, like, guys, we're getting like direct responses here.
Yeah, I didn't know they were asking questions. I didn't know that they weren't turning the flashlight on and off. I just saw it keep coming on and off. I was like, what are you guys doing? That's like annoying. I quit doing that. But they were getting actual answers to it. And so.
And there was some odd. First of all, as I remember, that house was a little oddly laid out. That little bedroom with and she had hung
an old window.
Which
out of a historic building of some sort.
Which, of course,
and we caught stuff around that window, which was really interesting.
Yeah, too. Because there was, and we generally don't. Orbs are not generally something that we even care about.
No, we don't.
But in that video, as I remember, we caught an orb, but it moved differently than it
did.
It moved from that window to the front room and then turned the flashlight on.
Yeah, and it was the way it moved through the window, and then it went behind the glass and back out of the glass.
And then kind of arced.
It wasn't like a bug would do or dust would do. Yeah. It was just
like
moving to where, purposeful movement that didn't seem natural to just like a wind current.
Yeah. So, and I just, first of all, when we got there, we're stupid because we did it right around the 4th of July, so there were people lighting off fireworks.
Right.
And
so we had, it wasn't on the 4th, but it was close enough
to the 4th.
Which was too close, and future, that is not going to happen because you just, pretty much all your sound stuff is almost all contaminated.
Yeah, you contaminate. You would have to have something overwhelming to...
actual voice of something that you caught, but any other noises, it could have been the fireworks, could have been anything. We just didn't know.
So, and we did Lance's house.
Yeah, we did Lance's house. One of our investigators, his house is an older house too, probably from the 30s, 40s, right there, and didn't really catch a ton of stuff.
I had one experience in that house which was weird. We were in the basement and we were in, I think we were in one of the bedrooms or something, and there was a dresser. And I had my hand on the dresser because I'm lazy, and the dresser vibrated. And I'm not just talking like,
quite a bit.
But quite a bit. And it literally started, because when you investigate, you're in the dark.
Right.
You're in the dark. So, you're already sensory depriving yourself. But that thing actually shook. The whole thing shook, which was really odd to me. I know we didn't catch a whole lot of...
Well, I do know that I think that in the attic we also caught on one of the recorders what sounded like if I'd toss a pencil through a room. The pencil, like if I'd toss it and it bounced off the floor. Yeah. That's what was caught on the recorder, and I can't explain that. I don't know what it was. Never found a pencil, but it was on the recorder. So there was weird stuff that we caught there. And we also did the house next to that house.
Yeah, which
my brother ended up moving in, and so we did that house too. And we know we caught stuff in that house. And that house also had there was an older lady that lived there, and she ended up dying at the bottom of the stairs, and they didn't find her for a couple days.
Ooh.
So
see, I didn't know that.
I didn't tell a lot of people that I knew some of this stuff because I didn't want...
You don't want it to...
I don't want to skew anybody's thing, right?
Yeah.
So I don't even think Darren knew that whole thing, but I knew it, and my brother-in-law knew it. And so we're the only two that knew that.
Because in Lance's house, I never felt...
Me neither. Nothing negative, for sure.
Darren's house always felt weird.
It did feel weird. And I did get creeped out in the basement part, and that stair area. But of course, I knew that had happened. But you got to think of
any of those narrow stairs that go to it.
Right. Yeah, and so my hope is that it was quick. Whatever happened, because I don't know, she had a heart attack. I don't know. I just know she died at the bottom of the stairs, and they didn't find her for a couple of days. So I'm hoping that she didn't suffer for days, because that would think of the negative feelings and all that that created there.
And you don't ever want to be in a place with a malevolence.
No. But still there was nothing that felt like it was going to hurt you in that building.
Yeah.
You definitely didn't get
more like a soul that needed to be.
Yeah, more of a sad feeling.
Yeah, a sad feeling.
Yeah.
Because there are places where you go and you don't feel.
Yep.
I grew up in a house like that. The house that I grew up in was an older house, and I wouldn't say that I felt uncomfortable there, but I always felt even that area was odd. Just the area was odd, and the area that we lived in was Indian territory.
Right.
I mean,
right.
there were a lot of Indians in that area, and even my next door neighbor at the time, whose father helped to kind of found that whole area, you know, they knew the Indians,
Right.
and you know, and I have some friends that, you know, I have a friend that lives in Arizona, and they lived in a house that was built in an Indian area, and they had some she had some experiences that I would never want to have, and it's
Well, speaking of Arizona, when I was down there on vacation last year, basically we went to the Birdcage there in Tombstone,
okay.
which is the theater, and it's been ghost hunters have been there, several people have been there, and I went on the ghost tour, which was interesting, and there is definitely different feelings in that building. And we went through there in the main area. It was just historic feeling. It was cool. It wasn't
I'm really
terrible.
surprised you were able to get Chrissy to go through there. Chrissy's Daryl's wife.
Yeah, my wife doesn't like that stuff, but she went through it. I'm really shocked myself. We went down into the basement where some of the bad gambling went, the really high rollers, and you know the brothel was real down there, and people stayed. But we came back up, and right above there, in the area where the old hearse was, which is a carriage hearse, and I wasn't sitting too far from that. I really, when we sat there and we turned the lights out and I put that, I could feel just that weird dread feeling from that carriage. I wasn't sitting very far from it, and we heard things, and it was interesting having. There was a group of us, and so it's not like you could hear those sounds, even though everybody was trying to be quiet. But when you heard stuff off from there, it was interesting.
Yeah, it did
And
kinda
some
make you
noises,
wonder.
and yeah, but definitely, you definitely got that intense dread feeling with all of the lights out. So it couldn't have been, you know, some kind of electrical thing that we were feeling from that hearse. And when I got up, I went toward that hearse, and it got stronger. So I know it was from that carriage hearse.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting. I wish I had more of my equipment, because I wanted to then do more with that hearse, because I know there's something around that thing.
Yeah,
but you gotta think of all the bodies that thing held.
Now, I remember, and I can't remember who the gentleman, the guy was that was the Goldfield Inn footage.
But yeah,
Do you remember that?
I do.
Who was that got that?
I know where the brick was from.
It wasn't brick, was it? It was like a 2x4.
It was a 2x4 and a brick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it flew. When he went in, and I went through Goldfield.
And see, I've been through Goldfield. We go through Goldfield all the time.
Right.
And that building is still.
It's
for sale.
still right there. I know.
It's still for
I
sale.
saw it there. You know, you go past the Clown Motel.
Yes, you go past the Clown
With
Motel.
the graveyard in the back,
Yeah,
which is a horror movie in itself.
Yeah, I'm really surprised somebody hasn't bought. And that's in Tonopah.
Yeah.
And if you guys have ever been through the Nevada desert, and again, the Nevada desert is another place that has a lot of ghost lore with it. Because if you get out there, it is nothing.
It is weird.
Flat.
Yeah, it is flat.
It's flat and it's road, and I'm sure there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people who have lost their lives on those roads. And you come into Tonopah, and this is no joke, it is called the Clown Motel.
Yes.
And it is all clown theme, and it is literally terrifying. And it has a graveyard behind it.
Okay, so I didn't know about the graveyard, and I was going to joke with our kids, because we took them down to Vegas, and that's all on the way. And we swung into the Clown Motel, and I knew about the Clown Motel, and I was trying to tease them that we're staying here because it was such good rates, and they were freaking. But then as I'm joking, I looked right behind the hotel, and I see the graveyard. I had no idea that was back there, and I'm thinking you couldn't even put that in a horror movie without thinking that was fake.
Yeah,
but it exists.
Yeah, then you go.
It really exists.
And I think Goldfield's only like 30 miles up the road.
It's just right up the road from there.
And Goldfield was the largest. One of the largest mining towns.
Right.
And it's really interesting because it's one of those towns that has a lot of history. It had a Budweiser brewing plant. It had the largest Budweiser brewing plant for a while in the country because obviously the miners and everything. There were so many bottles that they actually started building the houses out of the empty bottles.
You're right, which you can see when you go through there.
Yeah. So, and the Goldfield Inn is one of those places that is purported to be haunted and has some of. I think that footage is probably some of the hardest to debunk footage.
It is, because he just walks right in. He's doing all this other stuff, and you're right. I can't remember exactly which guy it is, but I know. He walks right into that room just as the 2x4 and a brick go flying through the air, and it's just really, I don't see how.
Yeah,
and that was really good footage.
And it's really funny because any footage that I see, YouTube or otherwise, the first thing I'm looking for is how could they have faked it?
Exactly.
And in this day and age, and that was one of the reasons. There was a program on Sci-Fi called Fact or Faked Paranormal Files.
I liked that show.
Which I really liked, too.
Me too, because I liked how they disproved that.
Yes.
But that was like the stick figure thing walked in that they still couldn't disprove. Those were weird.
Yeah, and I mean, and they didn't just do ghosts. They did a lot of things. And then
UFOs and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, they did anything.
Yeah.
I remember they had one where it was a bus that was moving uphill.
Right.
Towards a... railroad crossing. And then they actually go through and disproved it. Yeah. That, yes, it looks like it's moving uphill, but it's actually moving down.
It's actually a downgrade, even though the lay of the land makes it look like a downgrade.
Yep.
Yeah, that was awesome. I mean, I love that stuff. When that's the disproving I like. It's actually
using the science to another one that stuck with me was Josh Gates. When he went to Chernobyl.
Yeah, Chernobyl, yeah.
Chernobyl is another place that is...
It's one place I will never investigate, but I think it's cool for those who do.
You know what? If I could be told, you're not going to get killed by the Russians, and you're not going to turn into the Toxic Avenger from the radiation, I would go in a minute.
Well, that's the thing. It's the radiation and also, our relations with them, of course, but that freaks me out, that you have to have something on you, and then when it goes off, you gotta leave.
You have to leave.
It means leave now.
Yeah, you're leaving now. And the town, everybody calls it Chernobyl, but it isn't. The town is Pripyat.
It is. Yeah.
And some of the footage that he caught when they went there is haunting. For a couple of reasons. Number one, he was using thermal. Thermal, number one, is very hard to fake. You can't fake thermal. Especially because if it's a cat, it's going to be a small thermal signature.
Right.
If it's a human, it's going to be tall.
Right.
And,
And it looks like a human. It looks like the... And my thing is there's no way we know how, just like we're talking about EMF fields, well, what is radiation factor into that? I don't know.
Yeah.
We've seen all the sci-fi movies. I have no idea either. I'm just saying that we don't know that, and the fact that he caught that footage, it is unique.
I mean, and he actually showed it to Jason and Grant.
Yeah, and there's just it's something.
Yeah, it's something.
There on thermal. It looks like a person.
Yeah, and he got. I think he caught two different things.
Yeah.
And both of them were heat signatures, and that's harder to disprove than other stuff. I mean,
there's been some great footage caught with thermal, and I think thermal's a great thing because I think that
I wish we would have had thermal.
Yeah,
of course it's a lot cheaper now.
Yeah, now it's more affordable, but it was too expensive when we were.
Yeah, it was like $3,000.
But thermal is a great tool. It definitely helps you catch things
because it's more scientific than just Video is one of those things that you can manipulate a lot easier than thermal.
Right.
Even audio can be, but you're taking raw data with a thermal.
Correct.
So.
Right.
But.
And so what's neat now is you've got Ghost Hunters running again. I think they're doing a great thing, and Ghost Nation. I think they both think the same way, where they're disproving to find whatever evidence is there. So it's nice to have the shows because you have so many of the other ones that is just entertainment.
So, and there have been a lot of places that have been purported to be haunted that have been shown to be frauds.
Correct.
Which doesn't help the field either.
Well, no, I mean, I even remember one of the ghost hunters. They went to some tavern or something, and
That's
then
the one in California.
Yeah, and they found out
with the blue lady.
That it's all there's a thing behind the mirror. It's all it's a fun house.
It's a
basically.
fun house.
Yeah, it's not real. They make the lights move and the whole thing.
And the thing about that was when they figured it out.
Yeah, they weren't pleased.
They were not.
Well, because you're trying to be honest and wanting to help people, and then you're brought in as a joke. It's not a cool thing.
Now, and one of the places that they went to multiple times was the Stanley Hotel.
Yes, and I believe that to be haunted, just because Stephen King loved it.
Yeah. Now, the Stanley Hotel was where, what's the name of the movie?
The Shining.
The Shining.
Stephen King wrote The Shining there.
Oh, I didn't know he wrote it there.
So he stayed there, and he wrote The Shining in the Stanley Hotel because he heard of all the reports that was happening, gave him the idea of the hotel, so he wrote it about the Stanley Hotel. But the movie, when it was filmed, was actually filmed here in Oregon at Timberline.
Oh, see, I did not know that.
Yeah, so it's actually The Shining was filmed in Timberline Lodge.
Oh, that's interesting.
But the whole thing was actually written about the Stanley Hotel kind of behind it, and he wrote it there at the Stanley Hotel.
So here in Oregon, where are some of the hot spots? I know, I mean, there's a couple I know which you're always going to hear about the underground in Portland.
Right.
What do they call it?
I know, I can't remember the tunnels.
Yeah, the tunnels.
Yeah, that are there underground. That's a hot spot because people were Shanghai tunnels.
Yeah, the Shanghai tunnels.
They were Shanghai through there, and basically they had bars that you would go, you get drunk, and they'd open up a chute and drop you down there. There's still all the boots. They'd steal your boots, and you'd be drunk, and they'd send you on a ship and then send you off to Shanghai.
Wow.
And you were a slave. And it happened, and it even happened in Astoria. There was a bar right on the water that you go by. People were shanghaied right out of Astoria as well. It was a thing, a dark thing.
And I know that the Heceta Head Lighthouse, or the bed and breakfast that is now at Heceta Head, is purported to be haunted by either an innkeeper or a maid. But she really likes everything really neat, so if you leave mess around, you might hear it from her.
Right, and then you've got, I believe, the White Eagle in Portland is also.
I know isn't the Wolf Creek Inn too?
Wolf Creek Inn is another one
because that's a state park.
Yeah,
and the state can't keep people at that.
No.
Every single year, you can see that there are openings at the Wolf Creek Inn, and that was. I believe, if I remember correctly, Wolf Creek Inn was one of those multi-purpose buildings. It was a jail. Yeah. It was a courthouse. It was a school. It was a store. It was all these things. It was a stagecoach stop. Wow. So, they were known for having gallows out front. And any place that has that much history can really hold on to it.
And just as far as if you want to say is a weird energy place, and literally I've never been affected because I'm not as susceptible to high EMF as some people are. But I was completely affected was the Oregon vortex. So whether you believe in everything it does, half of it's optical illusions in the way it's laying on the hill. But there is seriously, it is weird. There is an energy there, and you feel it the minute you walk into that. If you've ever been there, I don't know if you've been there.
I've never been to the vortex.
It's worth going because literally I went from the car to there, and I looked at Chrissy, my wife, at the same time she looked at me, and she goes, I can't believe I feel that. I go, you're feeling what I'm feeling. You feel it's different.
And that stuff like that also goes back to ley lines.
Right, and it may be completely natural.
Yeah. And I know a lot of this stuff seeps into the movies.
Exactly.
I mean, I know that there is a large group of people out there that hated the new Ghostbusters. I actually really liked it. I love the first two Ghostbusters. Yeah. The all-female Ghostbusters I really liked. I liked how they did the ley lines. Yeah. But ley lines are something that have actually been written about since antiquity.
Yeah. Yeah.
That they are lines of energy that run through the earth, and
it's true.
And a lot of major major points of interest like the pyramids.
Yeah.
They
all lay on
Stonehenge they're all on ley lines.
They're all on ley lines.
So
I know, I agree.
It's another one of those things where it's like, the earth harnesses a lot of energy.
It does. Yeah, and so I think that just your lighthouses here in Oregon, that there is paranormal that are around them. I haven't heard of very many that aren't haunted around the whole United States. You seem to have some kind of story that's paranormal based.
Yeah,
with the lighthouses.
And there are places. Like I know you're getting ready to go to New Orleans soon.
Yeah, New Orleans,
and I'm sure
that's
you're
a
probably,
big. Yeah.
You're not. Are you staying at a haunted hotel?
I don't know if there's one that isn't down there. I just assume that they all are.
Right.
But yeah, no, that you just got to think of all the tragedy that's happened there and the energies and the different. It is that town has had atrocities that most towns don't have in their entire history.
Yeah,
they've had already. Not just Katrina, but historic things that have happened to them throughout time. That's just awful.
Well, and another would be like Gettysburg.
Gettysburg is another one, and you see tons of stuff coming out of there. You've got Savannah, Georgia. That's another one that's got a hot spot. And so those historic places, and that's why a lot of the paranormal, you see a lot more of it on the East Coast. It's just older.
Yeah,
it's
older. There's
more stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So it, and of course we did disband the team after 3 years?
Yeah, we each had, our life started to take off in different directions, and it was harder to get the team together, and so...
I had a kid, that was not easy.
No, and so, I know my mom passed away right within that time, and we were busy with that, and then bringing the team back together, it's like all of our lives had gone in a different way, and so we just let it go at this time. I don't know what it's going to hold in the future. I'll always be into the paranormal, whether we investigate or not. I might start doing some individual stuff.
I really want to go to Waverly.
Yeah, Waverly's one. The Winchester House, that's been an interesting one for me to look at.
Yeah, see, and now Penny's been to my wife's been to the Winchester House.
And I know people that have too that say it's kind of museum-ish now.
Yeah. I mean, there were some, I would have liked to have gotten into the old state hospital.
I would have liked that. I would have liked to have gotten into Fairview before they decided to tear it all down.
Or burn it down.
But they're building stuff on it, so maybe here.
I know, because I've heard stories about, I knew a lady that worked at Shamawa.
Yeah.
And they had all kinds of issues out there.
Right, and I know of that too. I've heard lots of that, And so, like you said, our state hospital. That was another one that was interesting. So, we'll just have to see what the future holds, and keep our minds open.
And and keep your mind open, and you do have to discern the better, lack of a better term, the fact from crap.
Well,
because there is a lot of crap out there.
There is, and that's why I'm saying, I full-heartedly believe that 98% of all paranormal stuff is not negative enough to kill you.
Yeah.
There's that few rare cases that there is something
where
that's
people have been attacked.
Right, and or they're messing with Ouija boards or divot boxes or things like that you just don't want to get involved.
And you are crazy if you are messing with a Ouija board. I'm sorry, but
you need to leave that stuff alone. It's not a board game.
Yeah,
and it 9 times out of 10 nothing can happen, but that one time, do you really want a chance? That one time, I don't like them. So
see, and that was one of the things in going back to Lep Castle in Ireland, where what they call the Irish Elemental, was released by a Ouija board, basically. The lady who was living there was into the occult and thought it would be funny. And
I just saw a Sweetwater Mansion. I saw a show on it, and it was really good. They have actual footage picked up by security cameras, and they had no activity in this place, even though it was historic, and they'd been watching over this mansion, keeping it, but they had a bunch of kids that heard the story of, it was during the Civil War. This mom's son went off to war, and he was killed during the war, where she was so distraught with him, she couldn't let go, so she kept a room in the basement, kept him in the basement for years. And then finally, when that family moved out, they finally gave them a proper burial. Well, that story got out to the general public, and these kids broke into there and did a satanic ritual with pentagram and candles.
Oh, wonderful.
And ever since then, they even had a mannequin with a gardening fork through its head. So ever since then, stuff has happened, and on the footage they show stuff being thrown off the mantle, and then that mannequin head flew across the room at a force you couldn't believe, and then they caught a full body apparition that looks like it's the lady, the mom. You can tell it's from the table in the kitchen, and you can see it walked right by a doorway, and it's some of the best footage I've ever seen. It's on security cam.
Oh.
And like I said, and that all came. They had no activity until all these satanic rituals. See,
yeah.
it's just they brought in that negative whatever that is, and it's just too bad.
Yeah. Well, it's sometimes you mess with forces that
you don't know
you shouldn't be messing with. So, all right. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on this week,
problem.
And it was a great conversation and very Halloween themed.
There you go.
And I think we only got like 4 or 5 movie quotes in. What's up with that?
I know. We'll have to do better next time. You'll have to have me back.
So yeah, we'll definitely have you back. And next time, I'd like to do this again. I'd like to bring Darren in. He's pretty good on this. I'd love to get all of us together.
Yeah, it'd be cool to get Lance in, Andy in, and
everybody in, and just sit back and reminisce and talk about it. And I think it would be.
I guarantee it won't be an hour show.
I guarantee it won't be. Not with us. Not with us. No, I think you and I doing an hour. I think is we could probably go for another hour, but
right.
It's one of those things where it is a deep subject, and if you keep an open mind, I think that
Right. And we both don't think we know it all. We're all learning. It's all, and I think we'll always be learning.
And I love to see new footage.
Me too.
To see new footage, and it's really great because I'll watch. One of the YouTube channels that I do watch frequently is Chills.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, and he can be a little hard to take because his narration is a little odd. Right. But he puts videos out every single week, and a lot of them are paranormal based, and he presents the evidence, and he doesn't say a lot of times he doesn't say whether it is, or he will ask, hey, can you disprove this? If you can, do it. And one of the things that having an eye for this and understanding, how people fake this, and sitting there and watching it with my 9-year-old daughter who thinks that most everything is real.
Right.
And I'm like, no, that's nothing.
Fake. That's not real.
That's nothing. Or it's a shadow, or it's a reflection.
Right.
Right. And things like that, where if you just
right, I've seen people that report footage that's on an IR shadow. You can get the IR shadow, and they're like, "Oh, look, I caught a shadow." No, you didn't. You caught the IR, and it's your shadow.
Yeah.
I can see you holding the recorder in your hand. It's your shadow.
All right. Well, hey, guys, thanks for joining us this week. Remember to like and subscribe. Just for some upcoming stuff, Alex is going to have a new video out this week for her first Creature Corner video, which is going to be really awesome. I think you guys will enjoy that. We are going to be at Portland Retro Gaming this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll probably shoot a couple of live videos, and in the next couple of weeks, we will probably have a ton of stuff out. So check back. Like I said, like, subscribe, and comment in the comment section, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.